All right, guys. Welcome to CoDWeekly. We're joined by a special guest, uh, CLS Godfather, LS Godfather, or whatever he prefers. So this week, Reigns. I'm just gonna start off with this note, but Reigns decided that this wasn't really right for him. He has some stuff at school to do, so good luck to him in the future. But me and Thomas here, just like always. Um, so let's just get into the intros. I'm going to let LS Godfather introduce himself, tell him his affiliation with COD Esports, and a little about his teams. And then Thomas can, and then I'll introduce myself, and then we'll get straight into all the topics I planned. So, Godfather?
All right. Yes. Want to start by thanking you guys for letting me onto the show this evening. It's an honor to get on and talk to you guys. As far as my affiliation, I am prefer, I guess, LS Godfather is the name that I typically go by, and I am the co-owner of CLS Esports and Clan Lucky Strike as a community. Started out as Salvo Gaming, and we merged recently with Lucky Strike, so kind of formed a power group, and I've been doing this for about a year. I've been following esports for a good 3 or 4 years now, but been heavily involved on the management end and owning teams and going to events and things like that for about 8 months now. And that's pretty well been my affiliation with Clan Lucky Strike. A great group of people. We got tons of streamers and things. We got all kinds of stuff going on. You can check out what we're doing at clanluckystrike.com to get more information. But yeah, like I say, great to be on tonight, guys. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm up right now. All right, Thomas?
For sure. My name is Thomas, or my Twitter handle is Mr. Pro Poutine. I am the greatest Canadian in the Call of Duty scene, other than maybe Karma. That's debatable.
You're a little.
I've been following competitive Call of Duty for about 2 years now. Really got into it at the start of Ghosts, even though it's such a bad game. I don't know. I felt the urge to really follow along, and I don't know. The bug caught me, so here I am, producing a show.
Doesn't get much better than this.
Living the dream, man.
Alright, so I'm Azumius. I have been involved in Call of Duty just as a game since the original Modern Warfare. I've been playing it for a very long time. I've been watching competitive Call of Duty since Black Ops 2. Actually, after Champs, I started hearing about Frico Impact, so I was intrigued. So I started watching, and I became an Optic fanboy. Though I don't necessarily root for a specific team, I'm just a competitive Call of Duty fan in itself. So I wasn't really bummed to see Optic lose. I wasn't really happy to see FaZe win. I don't know, kind of an underdog fan. So I am the host of this show, along with Thomas, Mr. Pro Poutine over here, I hope. So yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Azumius. The Twitter handle is right under me. Yeah, okay, so let's just get straight into it. Obviously, UMG Orlando is coming up next tomorrow, right? Tomorrow.
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 Yeah. Wow, I'm excited.
I'm so excited. He doesn't even know when it starts.
Yeah, exactly. I was on vacation, coming some slack.
New Year's hangover. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. I'm drinking too much Arnold Palmer. So I decided that we should start it off with pool play. So the pools are, I figured we might as well go through every single group, predict the top two in each group, and then just go through each group and then have predictions for the end of the tournament. And then I figured we could talk about the UMG Semi-Pro League a little bit, very shortly though, and then talk about Optic Nation's acquisition of Swanee as their new fourth, and then maybe the future of Optic Embos, maybe about his future with Synergy, that's permanent or not, and then maybe very briefly about the MLG League, but that's kind of secondary right now because we have an event coming up tomorrow, which is going to be pretty exciting. So, Group A, is headlined by Optic Gaming. It's got Optic, Stunner, who's been playing very well, Aware, who started off the league pretty good. Then people started to figure them out. They've been getting not as good. And then Team Revenge, who surprised a lot of people at a 5K. It was a 5K or a 2K, I forget. But they went big. Everybody was like, oh, who are these people? And those pro points got them into pool play here at UMG Orlando. So I figure we could each go predictions for top 2 in this one. I think it's a given on who is going to be number 1, but I figure let's just do it for the sake of it. So, Thomas, you can go first. Godfather, you can go second, and I never go last. So. Okay, so Thomas.
All right, I totally didn't unplug my headset there. Group A, it's definitely going to be Optic taking first. I see no question about it. It seems like it should be a fairly easy pool for him to take. But I'm struggling with who's second.
Yeah, quick thing. All of these pools have a 5th, but that's just all dependent on open. So we're just going to do this as if it's only 4. So, quick disclosure there.
Open bracket, no, they're not winning it. But yeah, Optic Gaming is obviously going to take first in that pool. Now I'm really torn between Aware and Stunner because they're both good teams. I think they're going to be fairly evenly matched, but I have to put Stunner on top. I just think I think Hugh is going to go huge, like he always does.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. All right, Godfather, you're up.
I'm gonna echo Thomas there a lot. I believe it was Thomas you said. I don't believe anybody can knock Optic out of the number 1 spot in Group A. After seeing them in person a lot at LAN, they work well together. Man, it's crazy. There's a lot of people that love Optic and there's a lot of people that hate them, but man, they're so good when they get on LAN. They zone in, and it's unreal to watch their team work. So I believe Optic is going to take number 1 fairly easily. I'm a little more torn between the 2nd and 3rd spot. Stunner played them, my team, Lucky Strike played them at Columbus. They have their good moments and their bad, just like a lot of teams, I guess. Aware is a really good LAN team. You can't take their online play so seriously because Cinder alone is a really good LAN player, and you add Lawless and the other guys in, and they're all really, really good at LAN. I believe I'm going to say Aware is going to take second in a very tight race with Stunner. I could see that being one of those that comes down to the last match determining it. Hugh is a really good player. He's come on the scene huge over the last couple of months, and he's the reason why it's even debatable for me, to be honest. But I'm going to say Optic with Aware at second.
Okay, so I'm going to go Optic at first. Shocker. And then I think it's kind of unanimous that Team Revenge isn't going to take this pool and get into pool play. No offense to them, but I don't think that they have it in them, just with the players that they have. And then for second seed, I'm going to disagree with Godfather on this one. I'm going to go Stunner. I kind of see them all as the young guns in Call of Duty, with Hugh, and then TJ Halley has tremendous gun skill. He's one of the better, most underrated players, I think, in Call of Duty. He can talk a little bit of trash on Twitter, so I always like a little bit of that. But
don't they all?
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with Optic number 1, Stunner number 2. Okay.
Yeah, I absolutely could see that happening. I don't mean to take anything away from Stunner, and I know the owner of Revenge personally, Raph. I've actually talked to him several times at events. Really good guy. He's got some up-and-coming players too that could surprise people. I believe that's a tough pull for a new team to come out of. When you draw Optic in your first major tournament, that's rough. That's brutal.
For sure. But I think at the same time, it's also a learning experience when you look at the other teams. There's really no bad team in professional Call of Duty.
Oh,
which
absolutely.
Is the first time that we've really seen that, where you have good people on each team, but you still have those teams rising to the top. Okay, so Group B, FaZe, Team Caliber, Strictly Business, and ISO. Okay, so there's a little bit of confusion about ISO because they have two teams, ISO Pro and then regular isolation. This is just regular isolation, so it's Swarly, Vicious, Jump, and Cosmo. I think.
Yeah.
I believe that's correct, yes.
They have a second team called ISO Pro, which is Twiz, Rizma, Huddle, and Sin. So they're pretty good, but I think it's the regular isolation.
It is.
Yeah. So the teams are ISO, FaZe, TK, SB. Predictions. I'll go first, and then Godfather. Godfather will just always be in the middle. And then Thomas. So I'll go TK at number 1.
Really?
Uh-huh. And then SB at number 2.
Really?
The upsets, I like it.
I just think that FaZe is gonna choke. I don't know why, but I just think they're gonna choke.
When was the last time Aches choked?
So, what?
When was the last time Aches choked?
Last half of the Ghosts.
Last time Aches choked, he was 12 years old, and he tried to take too big of a bite of a donut. Doesn't happen.
Have you seen how skinny Aches is? He's never had a donut.
I guess for my picks, I'm going to stick with FaZe at number 1. I pull for the underdog as well. I'm like you. I like pulling for the underdogs, but after watching FaZe come back out of losers bracket 2 tournaments in a row, or 2 lands in a row, I should say, it's going to be hard to pick against them. I'm going to go with Strictly Business at number 2. And a little surprise there. Team Caliber, once again, that's a tough 2 and 3, but I'm going to say FaZe and Strictly Business. And Isolation's a good team too. They have some guys who have had past success, but I don't know how strong they are at this game because they haven't really been able to show it yet. So I'm going to say FaZe and Strictly Business at 1 and 2 out of Group B.
Yeah, this is a really tough pool.
None of the pools are really easy, but...
Yeah, because none of these teams are really easy. That's the thing. I've said this multiple times. That's the thing I love about Season 1 so far. All these teams are just so good. Whether it's on land or online, all of them have their strong suits, and I think it's a great thing to see. So, Thomas?
For sure. I have to go with FaZe, number 1. Because it's just... Aches does not know how to lose. So, FaZe is just on fire. I don't see him doing poorly in the next few lands. I think something internally is going to have to go really wrong with that team.
Which is more than possible, by the way.
It is, but I don't think anything has happened yet. So I got FaZe number 1, and I have TK number 2. If nothing else, it's just out of blind fanboyism because TK is my favorite team. I love watching them. I love Sharp. I love Goonjar. Theory, I'm indifferent about.
Yeah, me too. I feel the same way.
But I think TK, they know how to perform on LAN. I mean, I get that the second half of Ghost was not great for them. But I think Advanced Warfare does suit TK a lot more than Ghost did. Because Ghosts, you needed 3 Slayers on each team if you really wanted to succeed. And TK just wasn't that. They had 1 Slayer, they had like 2 kind of OBJ/support players, and it just wasn't the game for them. But I think Advanced Warfare, with Hardpoint coming back, with Capture the Flag, with Uplink, it's much more friendly for a team like TK that is just so focused on just the teamwork aspect of everything. So I got TK coming second in that pool. Again, the only map they're going to drop, I think, is just a FaZe. And that's going to be the decider.
I think it's like I want all of the teams in that pool to be successful. I want FaZe to be successful. successful because of their past success. I think they deserve it. I want TK to win because it's very difficult not to like TK. And there's just something about Strictly Business that I just really like. I think it might just be freaky, but I just like that lineup and I want them to be successful. I also like John. He's always just kind of a quiet kid.
Until you get in game.
Yeah.
As long as they keep Censor off of Vine, I think FaZe will be fine. It's that pool is. I mean, after looking at all the pools, I will say that I believe that's the toughest pool to pick. Just because to me, I know you could easily say, well, FaZe is the strong team because of all their wins, but I mean, I have to agree. TK has played really well at Lands. They played strong at Columbus. Sharp was going off the first couple of days. Strictly Business. I mean, they have guys who can win. You know, they have guys who play really well consistently. And Isolation Jump has had some success in the past. I don't know. That's a really tough pool to pick. After listening to you guys, the more I keep looking at it, the more I'm unsure. But I will stick to my prediction. I will stick with FaZe and Strictly Business. But that's going to be a fun pool to watch. I believe they're probably going to put on some shows throughout this event.
Yeah, I'm excited for that pool. And I think I'll get to Group D later, but I think that's also a really tough one. All right, so Group C is Denial, Envy, Rise, and Synergy. Synergy obviously just got Embos, so they're looking pretty strong as a team. But Rise hasn't been performing in the league as well as they did last year. For whatever reason, I could probably think of a couple of them.
They lost their two best players.
Yeah, basically. I feel like Weeds and what's his face? Pac-Man are kind of just there to fill the lineup. But whatever. Alright, so Denial, Envious, Rise, Synergy, predictions. I'll go first, I guess. I'm gonna say Envy number 1, Denial number 2. Just that simple. Because Envy is Envy, and they're consistent, and they're good, and they have a strong lineup, and Mark is amazing, and JCap is, I don't like him, but whatever. Just, I think they're a good team, and I think that they have first place in that pool. And Denial number 2, the reason why I don't have them at number 1 is I think they're a younger team, a little bit more immature. So to me, I feel like once they play Envy, they'll start losing their composure, and they're not going to win that one. And that's the only reason why they'll be number 2. Rise, I don't think is going to get out of pool play because I don't think that they have the slang or the manpower to get out of there. And no offense to their lineup, I think Cheetah is the monster, but I just don't think Diabolic, Weeds, or Pac-Man can hold their own in this scene right now. And then Synergy, they're going to be really good, but with the other lineups in this pool, I just think it'll be really difficult for them to compete because, I mean, they've got a great lineup with TCM, Embos, Felony, and Methods. I think all those players are really good. I think Methods is amazing. I think Felony is really good. But, yeah, I just don't think they can hold their own against Denial and Envious. So, Thomas, you can go. And then I'm going to let Godfather go because he deserves it.
I have to disagree with you wholeheartedly. I have Denial as the number 1 coming out of that pool. I think Zuma and Attach are the 2 strongest players in that pool. Even more so than Clayster, I think.
Attach is so good, it's actually crazy.
Yeah, it's I just don't see this being Envy's game, really. I'm not sure what it is. It's just a gut feeling that I don't think Envy is going to consistently do well in this game. I think they'll probably stay top 8, top 12 throughout the entire year if they keep this roster. But I don't know. I have a weird feeling that this isn't Envy's game.
So 1 is Denial, 2 is
Isolation.
Oh, ISO. Wait.
Yeah,
For
ISO.
For Group C?
Yeah, ISO.
Group C doesn't have ISO. It has Synergy.
Or Synergy. Sorry, my bad. That threw you off totally. That was 100% on purpose. And not because the pools I have written down are outdated.
Yeah, I have those pools done too. But
Synergy.
I also
no.
know how to type in COD.esports at PDF.com. Just kidding.
No, I have Embos coming back with a vengeance.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to come close to winning the event, but I think they are going to shock the world and outplace Envy.
Alright, so Godfather, you good?
I'm going to stick with Denial at number 1. Played them a couple, both events that I've been to lately, and they're very strong on land. Zuma, he can go off any moment. Attach is a really strong player. Replays, he's up and down. He's a little more wishy-washy with his play sometimes, but he's a solid player overall. So I'm gonna stick with them at number 1. I know Envious is gonna be the popular favorite as far as player popularity goes. Clayster obviously brings a lot of popularity to the team. Nameless, strong player, been strong for a while. So I'm gonna stick with Denial and Envy at 1 and 2. Rise, I can't necessarily disagree with anything that you're saying. Chino he's become a really good friend of mine. We talk a lot at these events. I really like him, but I feel like that team is in serious need of some adjustment at this point. I know that's, when you're saying they're in the top 16 teams right now or top 12 in the league, I know that sounds funny, but they do, I think, need some, I'll use the word tinkering a little bit with that roster. Synergy picking up Embos, that's huge. I didn't see that one coming, to be completely honest with you, but getting him to play, that makes a difference in that team. I think I could see them coming out 3rd with Rise falling to 4th. But as far as the 1 and 2, I'm going to stick with Denial and Envious in that order. But I could see Envious making some noise coming out of loser's bracket once we get to the actual tournament.
I thought, is Embos a replacement, just like a fill-in, or is he actually on Synergy?
To my understanding, he's just a fill-in because he's never, he's almost on loan from Optic at the moment. It was more of I think he just didn't want to play with Nation right now, so they kind of loaned him out to Synergy. I may be wrong on that. I don't know the specifics of it, but that's my understanding.
All right. So Group D, in my opinion, the toughest one to call. Yeah.
I'll agree with that.
Justice, Prof, ON, and Elevate. So I'm gonna let Thomas start it off, and then I'll go, and then Godfather, you can go again.
Why do you got to do that to me?
Yeah.
This is so insanely difficult. I wrote down this group while we were predicting Group C, and I have changed my order 4 times already.
Okay, here. Why don't we do it how you started and how you are right now?
I started off with Justice coming in 1st in the group, Prophecy 2nd. I've now changed that to Prophecy 1st and Optic Nation 2nd. I think Prophecy right now is obviously, to me, the strongest team in the entire pool. It's just they have, I don't know what kind of chemistry they have, but whatever it is, it works, and they're winning. Optic Nation, this entire week since they announced they were picking up Swanee, I've been watching Optic Nation scrims, and the team morale for Optic Nation now is leaps and bounds better than it was before. Even with Swanee's a lot more vocal than I actually thought he would be coming into the team. But Swanee and TP throughout entire matches, they're just talking back and forth, Karma's going around doing what Karma does and just slaying everything that moves. But it is such a strong roster that I don't see them coming behind second right now. I would favor them over Justice in that match. I think Optic Nation is going to lose to Prophecy. I think they are definitely going last map with Justice. I think, honestly, Optic Nation and Justice can just be swapped back and forth for second, third.
Alright, I'll go second. And I'm going to go with ON number 1. I think Swanee probably has one of the best ARs in the North America at this event right now. I think he's a tremendous player, and we're going to see great things out of him in the NA. But we'll talk about him later and those later. So I'm going to take them at number 1. I think Karma is getting tired of this, and I think he's just going to carry them to victory. And then at number 2, I'm going to have Justice. Because I have said this many times, and I'll say it many more times, I'm a huge Slacked fanboy. I think he's one of the best players in Call of Duty. I think he was a great player in GIS. He's a great player in this game right now. I think he's probably in the top 15 players, honestly. And Enable is doing insanely good things right now for Justice. He has a 1.2 KD in the league, which is actually crazy. He's behind Happy, who's a warrior, and then Scumpy, who's Scumpy. So he's clearly doing some great things. And then I think Mochi Classic are going to do just fine. And I think the first 2 I highlighted are going to carry them to second place. And then third place is going to be Prof, fourth place is going to be Elevate. I don't see Elevate working as a team. And I don't know why. I think it's just a combination of players I don't think will work. I think Elevate have good players, but they don't have a good lineup per se, if you know what I mean. Like, they have the players that are good, but they don't have players that are good together. I think Spacely is one of the better players in the game, but I don't think with that lineup he is really playing how he could. So
I completely agree with you. That you basically saying what was going through my head.
Well, good at this stuff. All right.
Man, I'm not gonna lie, you two didn't clear it up much for me. No, I'm gonna take Prophecy at number 1. After being around Legal and Fears at the last couple of events, I'm not gonna lie, I really wanted those 2 players when they were free agents. I believe they are a duo to be reckoned with, and they will be for a long time. Those 2 together have chemistry that is unreal. And you have Parasite, who, love him or hate him, he's a proven winner. You know, I know he has a bad rap in the community in a lot of ways, but the guy knows how to win. You got to give it to him. So I'm going to take them at number 1. Number 2 gets really tough in this one for me. I'm going to take Justice at number 2. I'm like you. I like Slack. He's a good guy. And that whole squad. Justice really took pieces from other good teams and took, in my opinion, one of, if not the best player from other teams, at least one of the top 2 players, and made a team out of it. And I believe that team, I believe by the next season, is going to be probably one of the top 4 teams pretty easily. They just got a little chemistry to figure out. So I'm going to take them at number 2. And I don't mean to snub Optic Nation. I know Swanee is a really good player. Proofy, I've hung out with him personally at these events. Great guy. He's in my personal opinion, he's one of the best guys in the community. But I just believe that they still have some chemistry issues to figure out. And for whatever reason, how down everybody has been up to this point is a concern for me with that team. I agree with Thomas, that Swanee coming to the team has definitely picked up the morale around that team, and I believe it's starting to show. It's just going to take a little longer. I believe it's going to take longer than Orlando to get that completely figured out. Elevate, man, that's a hard egg to crack. I know all those guys from hanging out with them at events. Individually, they're great players, or at least really good. Great may be a strong word in some cases, but really good players. Killa, I mean, he's a clown. I really like the guy. He's been good for a long time. Spacely's a really good player. Miracle's good player. I just, for whatever reason, it's just not working. Study. I mean, another dude, he was great with Denial, and for whatever reason, that team is just not working. It's not gelling like you would think it should. When I heard they were playing together, I thought they were going to be the team to beat. And it's just, for whatever reason, it's not come together. So I guess I will stick with Prophecy at number 1 and Justice at number 2, with Optic Nation barely getting pushed out to number 3.
Right.
And I believe that's how I think it's going to play out anyways.
All right. So, with all that said, top 4 for the whole tournament in total, completely ignoring pools and stuff, because that's just too much for my mind to handle, predicting all that. But, so top 4 for the whole event, I'm going to go first because I'll give you guys some time to decide. And you can decide your top 4 depending on who you have going through bracket and open. None of us, I think all of us agree that there are going to be no open teams that make it out of pool. If so, say who you think is going to make it out of pool. What do you guys?
Looking at the open pool teams, I mean, there's a couple down there that could surprise some people. Automatic Reload is one team that sticks out to me.
Yeah,
you know,
I'm surprised.
You've got
cool.
Miyagi. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you've got Miyagi and you got Burnsoft. You know, I mean, they play really well at LAN. Miyagi played really well at Columbus.
I think it really all depends on whether or not they make it into Group A. I think any team that makes it into Group A just got a blessing, because that's probably the easiest group. No offense to those teams, except for Optic, who's crazy. I think the one team that you have to get around, and obviously the other people have disagreements with the pool, I think the one team you have to get around is Stunner, and that gun skill that they have. I think once you do that, you've got number 2 locked up. I think Automatic Reload can come out of pool play with, if they do get around Stunner, Aware, and Revenge, assuming they get to Group A. So.
Yes. I mean, to me, you've got to look at Automatic Reload. And the other one, to me, that's an intriguing team is Dream Team. And it's simply because they played really well at Columbus and really surprised a lot of people. I mean, I distinctly remember the first time I heard their name, I was like, yeah, I don't even know who they are. They're like, well, you're going to know them by the time the weekend's over, because they are wrecking people right now. And they were destroying people at Columbus. So I think those two teams, they could probably come out of open bracketing and create a little stir. But I don't know if either one of them would be strong enough to overtake who I honestly believe is the top 4 right now. I don't see them running all the way to the championships anyways. I could see a top 12 finish out of 1 or 2 of those, but that I don't see them winning it or anything to that extreme.
I think to see a team like Dream Team or Revenge, or even Aware, actually, or Stunner, get top 4 would be huge for AMS and huge for the UMG Semi-Pro League. So that's just because you'll have a little exposure for the teams going into there besides SB, who have a fan base, but not as strong as it used to be, obviously. But I think to have one of those teams come out top 4 will get people watching the Semi-Pro League, which I actually think I will be watching probably more than the regular league. I don't know why, but I'll get to that later. Okay. So, top 4 predictions. 1 OG, because I think OG is just so good, and I don't think that what happens to them in Columbus is going to happen to them in Orlando. I think it's going to be completely different. I think they're going to come up, and I think number 2, I'll put Envious there. I think Clayster is going to go big. I think Merck is also going to go huge. He always plays well, but I think this event he's going to play out of his mind. I don't know why. I just have that feeling. And then I think Nameless will also come up big. I think that's what those three are what's going to push them through to top 2. And number 3, I'll put TK. I think TK are onto something with their lineup. I think Looney is going to really drive them to the top. And I'm just excited to see what happens out of them. And then 4th place, I'm going to put ON. Because I think they have what it takes to be top 4 right now with Swanee. And the only reason why I didn't put them top 3 or top 2 is because of how new they were in the chemistry issues. It's not even issues at this point. Just like the new chemistry that they have with each other. So, Thomas?
I can't believe you put Optic Nation top 4. I still think it's too new.
Alright, so... I can definitely see where you're coming from with that one. I don't disagree with you. But I also have that hunch. So...
Well, I have to... I am definitely... I think the UMG Amateur League is going to sweep the top 4. It's going to be SB, Dream Team, Aware, and Automatic Reload.
I don't know if you're joking or not.
I am 100% joking. But
I haven't even talked to you guys much, and I could smell a joke going there.
Oh, dude, it was... Yeah, I would love to see... I'd love to see one of those teams make it in, but I don't think it's going to happen. I have to put Optic Gaming first, because as much as people don't want to use the term God Squad because everybody's so good, Optic Nation is still just so good, and slang-wise leaps and bounds above other teams. Because Optic Nation has... I think 2 of their players, I think Scumpy and Formal, both are averaging 30 kills per respawn. Scumpy in the online league is 2nd in KD, Formal is 5th in KD. Like, the fact that they just kill everything that moves, they're gonna take this event, I think. I have FaZe coming in 2nd, because I still think FaZe is a really good team. I just think Optic, they'll be able to clutch it out this time over FaZe in the grand finals.
Yeah, I think this game will be a lot more inconsistent for the beginning with the teams that win. I think it'll mostly be Optic in the top 3, Optic Gaming in the top 3. But I think 2 and 1 will always kind of be a toss-up between FaZe and Optic for now, I'd like to say. I don't think it will this event. I don't know why, but I just don't see FaZe doing that well. But, yeah. Alright. Godfather?
Oh, I only gave my top 2. Cut me off.
My bad. Didn't even realize.
I got Prophecy taking 3rd place, because Parasite, he knows how to win. The team is as weird as it looks to me. It's a good team. So, and I have Denial taking 4th. I think Denial's gonna have a good event this weekend. And yeah, that's really... Oh, I also have just a couple things that kind of contributed to that. Is I was doing a ton of research the past couple nights on how teams are doing on maps, and like Denial on Biolab Search and Destroy in the league right now, they're 5-0. On Detroit Hardpoint, they're 3-0. It's just they have maps that they just know so well that they don't lose. Most of the other maps, Denial is like 3-1 or something like that. And Prophecy, the same thing with like Riot Hardpoint, they're 4-0, and Recovery Search and Destroy, they're 3-0. Like there are only 3 or 4 teams that have not lost on certain maps, and Denial and Prophecy are 2 of those teams.
That's a great point. But the only thing that I have to say to that is, while you've done your research, players themselves with the veto system have done so much research as well. So,
are they bringing the veto system back? Because it wasn't in Columbus, I don't believe.
That's actually a good question. I don't see why they wouldn't, because I think it was a good system. I think it was smart, but you could be right. I don't know. But Godfather, your top 4.
I kind of did what Thomas said he was doing a while ago. I rewrote mine 2 or 3 times. The more I kept looking at it, the less I liked it. So I'll go with my last prediction. I'm going to say Optic Gaming at number 1. Like I said, I believe we all agree that they're such a strong team right now. They almost have to be number 1. I'm going to stick with FaZe at number 2. Just like I say, doing that at 2 events back-to-back is unreal. I'm going to go with Prophecy at number 3. With Parasite's proven track record, and you have the young duo in Legal and Fears. I mean, that's hard to handle at a LAN. And I'm going to go with TK at number 4. I had Denial there initially, but I took them out and put in TK. And that's a tough call, but TK, like we talked about during the pool play segment, it's something about that chemistry that they have going, and they, at least for me personally, surprised me at Columbus with the way that they were able to play and gel that quickly with Looney coming onto the team. And he just immediately fell into the role and played really well. If Sharp can come out and have that kind of tournament like he did there, and you add a month and a half, or at least a month of seasoning to that squad, I believe they could surprise a lot of people. So I'm gonna stick with OG, FaZe, Prophecy, and TK as my top.
All right. Okay. So I think we all agree that OG is not gonna do what they did last event, and they're gonna win this one. So.
That's the only thing I'm taking a dark horse in this one. I'm gonna say Prophecy takes the upset this tournament.
Okay.
I'm gonna predict them to upset. I know OG is really strong. I know FaZe has the winning track record, but I'm gonna say Prophecy upsets. I'm gonna pick a dark horse.
All right, I respect that. I agree with that. Okay. So next topic I wanted to cover is Swanee's transition to the NA. Optic Gaming's choosing to have Swanee transition to the NA, and Embo's playing with Synergy and the possibilities for his future teams and whether or not he will be in the league. So I figured we'd start off with Embo's. Do any of you guys see him in the league?
I haven't had a chance too much to follow him much since all that happened. He's just, man, he's a trooper. He's been around a long time and played really well. I don't know exactly why he decided to split ways with Nation, or what happened there that made him decide to leave, or want to at least take a break. But I mean, I believe, at least I can say this from an org owner standpoint, I would like to have the guy. So I know there's a lot of other teams out there that would be in the same boat. I mean, he has the fans. He has the attitude that you like. You know, he treats his fans well, and he's just a good player. You know, he's a solid guy. You could build a team around. I know he's been around a little while, and you know, the shelf life of a player in the Call of Duty esports scene is not like other sports where, you know, you got a good 10, 15 years. I know a lot of people that at 24, 25 say they're washed, and I find that hilarious at my age now. But I mean, he's a good dude, and I think he has a bright future. As far as what teams, man, that's tough. Synergy is a good fit for him because he can kind of be the veteran to lead the younger guys. You know, some of those guys, once again, from an org owner standpoint, have some immaturity issues, some things that maybe they need to work on a little bit. And he can kind of be the guy to show them, hey, this is how Optic Gaming did it. This is how we built this empire that we've built. You know, I was part of that, so let me help you. You know, and I could see that being a good fit for him. But I mean, you go to talking about a team like perhaps Envious that, you know, let's just say in some crazy reason Clayster blows up and says, I'm not playing with you guys anymore. I mean, I gotta believe Envious would love to have the guy. Or any team for that matter. When you start talking about him coming on as a third or fourth player, I mean, that is a solid third or fourth player you could have. So I don't know if there's any team that wouldn't have him, but as far as saying who would want him or would even go so far as to drop a player to pick him up, man, that would be hard to say right now because, as we've already been talking about, so many of these teams have solid rosters. Even when you drop down into the top 16, top 20, it's hard to say where he would fall, to be honest with you. I really believe he would go back to Nation, if anything, just because he's built such a great, I guess I'll use the term legacy with Optic. But Synergy's a good fit. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, coming in and playing with those young guys like that.
Yeah. My only thing, and the only reason I'm even, thinking that he's going to leave Synergy is because they're under 18, and I think that's the only reason why he's not going to be with them after this event. And
absolutely. I can see that very easily myself.
the problem with this time of year is all rosters are dependent on what we think is if a player is 18 years old, or if they're going to be 18 years old for COD champs. I saw this tweet by Felony about how stupid it was that COD champs doesn't allow an exception for him because his birthday is the week after COD champs. So I thought that was kind of hilarious. Just I felt bad for the guy, definitely, but I kind of had a little chuckle to myself. But all right, so Thomas, Embo's ready to you.
It's honestly so difficult to try and place him somewhere. If I were Embo's, I would stay with this team. Ride it out as long as possible. You may miss COD champs this year, but I don't see any of the top 12, top 16 teams dropping a player to pick up Embo's. Now, if there were to be some sort of issue with the team where a player did blow up and just said, I don't want to play with you guys anymore, I'm leaving the team, blah, 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 I could see a team maybe picking up Embo's then. But any of the established top teams right now, I don't see them dropping players to pick up Embo's.
All right. I have a pick a little more out there than yours. I'm going to say that he is going to do whatever it takes to be in the league. That means playing with whoever it takes. And I think that means he is going to join Aware.
Whoa, I like it. Explain.
I think he's going to replace Lawless. Wait, was it? Yeah, it was Lawless, because Lawless is our OBJ. Embo's is an OBJ. So, wait, no, sorry, Accuracy, I meant Accuracy. Okay, I think he's going to replace Accuracy. I think Embo's Accuracy is a good OBJ. I think Embo's a little bit of a better OBJ, especially on land. I think Accuracy is... I just think Aware would rather have a big player like Embo's than Accuracy. And I think that's mostly just because of the fan base that Embo's brings with him to Aware. Because Aware, even if they're in the league, they're still a small team. So that's just kind of my
pretty bold.
thoughts.
I like it.
With that. But I think it would be a good decision for him to stay with Synergy. But I don't think that's going to happen. Because all eyes on champs.
The only bad decision Embo's can make is trying to remain with the Optic organization without having a steady team to play with.
Are you saying it's like going from event to event with pickups?
Yeah, I just don't see that being a good decision for Embo's, even if he does stay under the Optic brand. Because at heart, these players are competitors and they want to win, and he knows he's not going to win if he goes to every event with a different pickup team.
Yeah. I think he's kind of smart enough at this point, because for the first half, maybe probably more of his career before he joined Optic, he was always going to different teams. They were pickup-ish, whether that be Soar when he played with them, or even back then, FaZe was kind of a pickup team. They weren't really as established as a competitive team as they are now, because when he was playing with them, he was with like Methods, Embos. It was Methods, Embos, Heist, and
Huddle.
Slack. Or wait, was it Slack or Huddle?
I think they both played on FaZe at one point.
Yeah, I know all those guys were on FaZe, but that team was more of like a young gun type. That like it was less of a established organization than the competitive scene. Back then, FaZe just had a competitive team for the sake of getting in with competitive, not for the sake of having a good competitive team, I think. So, that's kind of where I see him. Swanee, he just joined Optic Nation. Thomas, last show me and you were talking about how Optic would be reluctant to shell out the money to get that visa and stuff for a player from the EU, but were we proved wrong, huh?
Well, I think my point was the only two orgs that would be able to shell out the money would be Envious and Optic. I figured it would happen at some point. I did not think it would happen this quickly. I didn't think Optic was going to... I think it was like 12 days after I said, it's not happening. Maybe in late 2015. I didn't think 12 days later Optic would say, yeah, Swanee's on the team now. So,
I could have seen him on the team, but what I saw, not really counting the fact that they'd have to fly him for every event, is I kind of saw him staying in the EU, but playing with Optic. Not necessarily living at the house. Because he flew in from the EU and completely just moved to the house, like, without a break. And I think that's actually kind of crazy, but props to him. What do you think, Godfather, about Swanee's move?
Well, it was definitely not what I thought was going to happen. I figured they would keep it in the NA. I figured they would go after, one of the past veterans, that they just knew were a solid player. I like the move. I like the fact that Optic is bringing in somebody like that from the European scene. It's hard to say, really. It's hard to say how this is going to play out. I think we're going to learn a lot over the next 3 days at Orlando. Sorry about to say Columbus. Orlando. I think it's going to tell the story of how good that team is really going to be. I've learned after my experience in the esports scene that you can't take too much to the bank that you see online, especially when you're talking about through the league and things like that. It's the land will tell the true story, and I just don't know. It's hard to say. They look good on paper, and I really believe it's a good team. I just don't know how quickly that's going to gel and make a strong team. I think the next 3 days is going to tell us a lot.
Yeah. I'm excited to see how Embos does in this situation. Alright. So, welcome to the Stream Pit. Apparently you're proteins. Right. I don't know. So for the teams that qualified for the UMG Semi-Pro League are SB, Nesla, Dito, John, and Viz. RVN, who I only have heard of one player from that team, and the team is Shook, Assault, Relay, and FaZe. I've heard of FaZe, Phaze. Talent, Talont is the team name. And then they've got Psycho, Tells, Havoc, and Floop or something like that. I don't know. I can't pronounce his name. And then ISO made it to the league. That's Jump, Swarly, Vicious, Cosmo. It's the same team that's in Pool B with FaZe, TK, and SB. And then DT made it. That's Llama God, Evasion, Octane, and Stringo. They placed very well at Columbus. Team Revenge, which is in Group A with Optic, which is Rem, Nagathon, Hazard, and Stevie. A lot of these players, I'll admit, I've never heard of in my life, but whatever. Stunner.
The joys of
made
the
it.
amateur scene.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But I think there are also those AMs that you kind of like see around. For example, Stunner has those AMs with Perplex, TJ Halley, Vexed, and Huke. Huke, obviously, everybody's heard of at this point. But TJ Halley, I think, is one of those AMs that you kind of just see around. And Vexed, he was on Denial before Denial dropped their roster, except for Zuma. He was one of those players. And then Illmatic, that's repping Baker, Facento, and GodRx. So that's actually a good team too. Baker and Facento are obviously big players. So those are all the teams that have made it into the UMG League. And then my predictions for the last 4 teams to make it is Synergy. And because the last 4 teams are all based on Orlando and how well they do at Orlando. So I think Synergy. And the thing is I'm not exactly sure how that works if Embos leaves. But I'm excited to see what UMG says regarding that. Maybe they've already said something. I think Vex's Isolation Pro is going to make it into the league with Twiz, Rudismo, Huddle, and Sid. Or Sidfula. I don't know. I don't even know what people call him anymore. But Vex, I think, is going to make it into the league. Vex, we haven't heard out of in a little while, but they've got Pluto and Mutation are the big ones, and then they've got 2 dams that aren't very known. One's named Silly, and then the other one's Renzo. And then I feel like their name always comes up in our show, Thomas, but I think Fear is going to be the last one to make it into that UMG League. They have a really good team. They have Moho, Strife, Ares, and Cali. I think Moho has established that he's one of the better players in AW, but I think those other players are going to prove some people that Fear is still forced to be reckoned with. So, those are my predictions.
Yeah, I can't disagree with any of your picks. I could easily see Strictly Business. They're not. I don't believe they're in the MLG League, are they?
No, they're in the UMG League. They've already qualified for that and everything.
They have already qualified. Okay. So I mean, with them already being in, I mean, I could see Synergy locking up that spot. And it's like you say, it all depends on what happens with Embos after this event. Looking at it, it's going to be really tough to say, to be honest with you. It just depends on who shows up out of the open bracket, really, because so many of these teams are already in the pro league at this point. Man, that's tough. I'll pass that one to Thomas. I need a little more time to think, I believe.
Yeah. Honestly, I haven't been able to study up too much on the AM League and the list of teams that are not in it yet, so don't feel too bad about not knowing. But yeah, they're the teams that are already in the bracket play, like Stunner, like ISO, and like Synergy. They're gonna have a huge advantage because even if they finish 4th in their pool, they're still guaranteed, a top 30 something placing, I believe.
Wait, if they don't make it out of their pool, wouldn't that be a top 16? Or no, it would be a top 20.
Top 20.
Top 24 at least.
Top 24 or something.
Yeah, because it's 5 times 4 because there are 5 teams in each pool. There are 4 pools. So
yes, but it also depends on how the bracket is sorted out, which we haven't gotten to see yet. But with brackets, if you come in 5th place in your pool, you'll get placed in, say, the top 32 tier of the pool, and you have to win a match to get yourself guaranteed to top 24. So the open bracket teams that come in they have a chance to make it in. I don't know. The brackets this year confuse me. I haven't had enough time to study them. But it's all dependent on where the you get placed in the brackets after pool play is over. I don't think that you get guaranteed. I don't think they got guaranteed top 20 at Columbus if they finished last place in the pool. I think it was 24. But I could be just like pulling things straight out of my ass right now, so
It's like at least for
it's life.
One team, I guess I will say that I've kind of got my eye on. I'm a little partial to them because a couple of their players are former players of my own.
Oh, I know exactly who you're gonna say.
Yeah, Echo Gaming. Trev is a pretty good player. He played for, what was that team name at Columbus? They wound up beating us actually in losers bracket. Can't think of their name right off, but they have Gucci Brows and Saint, and they added a couple of players the last 2 or 3 days. Kind of a surprising move this late, but I can speak from experience that Gucci and Saint are really good players. Had some issues with getting chemistry down with Stainville and Realize at Columbus. Individually they're all great players, just chemistry wasn't quite where it needed to be. But they're a team that I could see slipping into the tournament after Orlando. And like you say, Vex is a team to keep your eye on. They're always lurking. Icons, that's the other one I was trying to think of. Trev was playing for Icons at the time, and he played really well at Columbus. So they have 3 solid players that, if everything comes together for them, I think they could easily take one of those last league spots.
Do you know who their fourth is?
They dropped Realize, and I can't think of the other guy's name, to be honest with you. He was like they took 3 of the players that played for Lucky Strike at Columbus and added a 4th guy in, and then they've dropped 2 of them and picked up Trev and another guy, and I can't think of who the 4th is right off the top of my head. But those 3 alone are a pretty solid roster. Like I say, they are pro caliber players. They just doesn't seem to ever be able to get the chemistry right. That's probably the only team really that's just jumping off of the page at me out of the open bracket teams that could take that spot, because pretty much pool play is either all teams that are already in the league or are in the pro league. So pretty much all those are already covered. So that's the only one that's really standing out to me at this point is Echo. Basic Esports is up there on the list. Esport, Collapse. I know Esport has put together some solid teams lately. It's just,
yeah, I've been thinking
when you get into
too.
the AM, yeah, exactly. And when you get into the AM scene, it's so one event to the next. You never can predict, because guys will come up and they'll play really good with the team. And just like in my own case, my own experiences, when you fall even 16th, which is a great placing, when you fall in that 13 to 16 category, it's a great placing. But it's just so hard to gauge, because that's just bad enough to not feel like that team is a number 1 caliber team. So those guys tend to leave teams, mix up players, and it's just the AM scene moves around so much. It's hard to really know. To be completely honest with you, I believe as I'm scrolling down the list, there's some teams even on down the list that stick out to me. Purist Gaming, I know at the end of Ghost, they had a pretty solid team. Impulse, I've heard their name thrown around.
I know the Echo Force. Sorry, I've been looking for it for years right now. It's Fear.
Yes, there we go, Fear, yes. You've got some, and I agree with you, Team Fear. Moho, he's been around a long time. It's just hard to say, because the AM scene it changes so rapidly, and it's so hard to keep up with who's where. And if you follow Twitter, I'm sure some of the listeners probably pay as much attention to it as I do, and you can literally watch Twitter for a 4-hour span and see players get dropped and picked up 2 or 3 times on a given day. So it's really hard to predict, and that's why I think it's really good that this league has come up. I've been saying for a long time that something needed to be done for that next level of team, that where after the top 12, that next 8 teams really needed to have an opportunity because there's some really good teams that are just on the outside looking in. And because the top 12 is so strong, they don't get an opportunity to find out how good that team could be if given a little bit of time. Because the way Call of Duty Esports is set up, or has been set up to this point, if you weren't a top 12 team, you were not worthy of funding, or you were not worth fans' time, or however you want to say it. And these teams just didn't put in the effort. It was too easy to say, okay, well, we placed 14th. That's pretty good, but it's not good enough. So I'm going to go look for somebody else. And to me, it's held the sport back. And I believe UMG, I will give them kudos for stepping up, them and the PA organization for setting this up and getting it going, because I believe this is going to change the landscape of Call of Duty for the better over the next few months, and give these teams that are looking for that outlet and that chance, it's finally going to happen. Because as we've been talking about all evening, when you're going up against Optic and FaZe and Denial and these teams that have been good for a long time now, it's hard to compete on that level as a new team. Even these young kids who are coming up and they're really good at the game, how are you gonna take a team? Let's just use FaZe as an example. How is Robbie, the owner of FaZe, going to look at his team and then look at an amateur kid and say, okay, you know what? I'm sorry, Zuma, you've been playing really well, but this kid has a lot of hype coming out of amateurs, so we're gonna have to send you on down the road. Yeah. There's some kids coming out of the amateur brackets that I honestly believe are going to be the stars in the next year or two, but it's just hard to give them that chance. So I'm excited to see what comes out of this league, to be honest with you. I'm ready to see it get started and see what teams make a name for themselves.
Yeah, I think UMG has really kind of, like you said, they've stepped up. They've been the bigger person, because MLG didn't want to really take a hold of the AM League, and there have been other AM Leagues, but none of them have really been as high caliber or as hyped as this one. And this one, I think, is actually gonna, if it gets streamed, I'm gonna watch it. That's just the end of it, because I want to see these players. I want to kind of get to know them as we got to know these pros on a personal level. So I'm looking forward to this AM League, probably more than you guys know.
Well, and it does. It opens up a lot of doors, that haven't been open thus far. It gives the amateur teams a chance for once to actually make some noise and gain some fans and build a little recognition. So I think it's going to be really exciting. I'm anxious to get it going.
Oh yeah, I'm honestly so anxious to see who the last teams are. I'm really excited. I hope it's something good.
I guess not to drag the subject out too long, but the way I explain this to my guys that I work with in Lucky Strike is, I look at it like I'm a huge football fan, have been since I was 9 years old, and part of the excitement to me is, even though I'm a huge Dallas Cowboys fan, and I hope we don't lose visitors over that, but I'm a huge Dallas Cowboys fan, and although I love the Cowboys, I love watching other teams that come out of nowhere. I love seeing a team that's been awful. Take the Bengals, who've been awful for 20 years, and they all at once get good. Call of Duty, the way it's currently set up, you don't really get that opportunity, because you pretty well already know the top 8 teams going into every season. If you look at the current pools, this is probably the biggest difference in the pool play that I've seen in a long time, as far as it being new teams in the mix. So when you add a whole nother division of teams, it's exciting to me, because I'm finally going to get to say some different team names, if nothing else. For the first time in a long time, I'm going to get to talk about Elevates and ISOs and Revenge Gaming, and talk about some fresh names and fresh people. I'm excited. I was thrilled when I heard they were going to pull this off.
Yeah, I'm pumped. All right, so Thomas, you got anything?
Yeah, I don't have much to add on top of what's going on with the AM League.
All right.
Other than, I got to root for Dream Team, because Neil was very kind to us and helped us out on our second episode by coming on.
Yeah.
So I have to repay his kindness by my passive support of the team.
Yeah, go Dream Team.
But I definitely think
Godfather, you'll be getting the same.
Oh, that's fine. I completely understand. I'm just glad you guys let me come on. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, I've had a great time. All right. So with that said, we're gonna do some outros. We've been going for about an hour and 15 minutes, so it's been a little while.
Yeah, time flies.
Yeah. So outros, basically how it works is you're gonna get as much time as you'd like to talk about whatever you want. Yeah, we're really organized like that, and just give your team a shout out or specific people a shout out or whatever you want to do. So you can go ahead, Thomas, the Godfather, and me. So
All right, guys. Thanks to everybody who stopped by tonight. It has actually been more fun than I was expecting, as we did have Regions or King Wilcox. He did end up stepping down from the show tonight. We do wish him the best. No hard feelings. He just is really busy with personal stuff, so hopefully he'll be able to come on the show at some point in the future and just come and visit. But it was just an insane day with kind of our guest dropping out and him backing up. So we definitely have to thank Godfather for coming on. His Twitter is in the Twitch chat for anybody who wants to go follow him. Make sure you do that. Make sure to follow our GFX artist at GFX James. We put him through absolute hell today.
yeah,
So we had him do up, I think, 5 different overlays for us today, with changing names and a new overlay, and it was just absolute insanity. So
yeah.
I'm sorry, James.
We finally got that face reveal. Me and Thomas have been looking forward to for a very long time.
Yeah, today was actually the first time I talked to him in Skype chat. That wasn't just typed. It's exciting.
All right, so Godfather, you're up.
I don't really have too many shout outs. Just I do want to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to come on. Being new to the scene, I know I don't have the name that some of these guys do that you definitely could have asked to come on, and I'm sure they'd have been glad to do it. But just keep following us. We got a lot of things coming. We've kind of been waiting for the first of the year to get things back underway, and I'm sure we'll be making a big appearance in the Call of Duty scene again soon, as well as we're looking at some PC games and some other things. So give us a follow. Follow me on Twitter, and I'll try to keep people updated. And like I say, thanks, guys. Thanks to the people who tuned in to listen. I know I'd have a tendency to ramble, so it's hard to get through sometimes, but I really do appreciate the opportunity and wish your guys' show the best of luck. I'd be glad to come on anytime.
Awesome. All right. So thank you to all you guys that came on. Just quick thing. Thank you to Regions for all the help he's done. He was one of the first people to reach out to me when I had the idea for the show, and for the first 2 episodes he was able to be on. It was awesome having him. He's a really cool kid. You guys should follow him on Twitter at @KingWilcox_. And I'm just saying that because he's a cool kid, and I know that I'll definitely chill with him on Skype every now and then. And by no means is our communication between him and me done, because he's a really cool kid, and I'm gonna miss him on the show, but he'll definitely come on as a guest at some point. I've made that very clear to him today. It was a mutual decision of him being off. He came up to me. He said, "I'm really busy with school," and I said, "That's all right. I get that. Do your thing." That was it. I'd like to now, on a happier note, huge thanks to LS Godfather, co-owner of Flame Lucky Strike. You may remember them as Salvo Gaming from from Ghost Black Ops, or Flame Lucky Strike, because they're a big clan on Xbox now. They've got a big streaming division. You guys should definitely check them out. Follow them on Twitter. Thomas has it in the chat. We're working on Nightbot all day. So, yeah, follow the Twitch channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Yeah, thank you all for tuning in. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.